Hi there and welcome to the Gazette's weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and this week we have a special treat with three members of the Canadiens' 1986 Stanley Cup team, Chris Nilan, Green and Brian Skrudland, all joining me to set the stage for the Habs' first-round playoff series against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and also take a look back on the playoff run they enjoyed 40 years ago that resulted in a championship. Guys, great to see the three of you guys together. This is absolutely fantastic. Let's start with a simple question, Knuckles. Can the Canadiens beat the Lightning in a best-of-7 series?
Of course they can, but there's always a but, right? And listen, they're playing certainly a more experienced team in the playoffs, but the Canadiens are going to have to play that run-and-gun style to beat this team and certainly be able to take care of their own end of the rink. And that's been one of the problems all year, right? They give up, control and high danger shots in their own end. They've had a difficult time all season. They've been better down the stretch here at the end of the season, but also the goaltending's been better. Like the goaltending, Dobes during that stretch stood on his head a lot of nights. We forget that, right? He had to stand on his head for them to win hockey games. And sure, they score goals, but the opportunities they give the opposition is a lot. And then can they handle the physical aspect of the game against Tampa Bay? We saw it the last game in here, regular season game. It got pretty nasty. That's going to continue here in the playoffs. So they can do it, but they got to have everything going right for them to get through this first round.
Yeah, Rick, I know they're underdogs going into the series. They did win the last two games against Tampa, and as Knuckles said, that last game, the 2-1, that was a playoff preview. What do you think? And do they have enough to beat Tampa?
Well, Dobish is going to have to do his thing that he's been doing for a while now, and this is going to be a key area. It's going to be a battle of the goaltending, and he's been able to handle himself really well up to date. Now there's going to be a lot of pressure coming at him. There's going to be a lot more traffic, and he's going to have to be better than his A game, to have any kind of success. So starting there, I think that the team is quite aware that Tampa is going to be coming at him hard on the forecheck, and they held up pretty well. So I don't completely believe in all the odds makers giving them a real tough chance to advance, but they're going to have to, continue to compete hard, shore up, like Nuck said, shore up their defensive zone and make sure that they're really, really solid and ready to battle. Showing discipline, Tampa is going to come at them. They're going to try and, make a statement physically. But they got to be careful that they don't get in a situation that they start taking penalties and let the power play of the Canadiens do their thing, which is excellent. So there's a lot of the details of the game, a little concerning with some of the inexperience of some of the guys that don't realize what the little extra means in the playoff time. But they've showed that they've handled themselves really well over the regular season. They had some success splitting the games against Tampa, so why not crank it up another notch and see how far they can go and what kind of success they can get.
Brian, I know it's Vasilevsky in net for Tampa against likely Dobish, the rookie in Montreal. Vasilevsky, career record against the Canadiens in the regular season, 16-5-2. He has a career .918 save percentage in the playoffs. When the Canadiens and Lightning met in the 2021 Stanley Cup final, he had a 1.58 goals against average and a .943 save percentage. Going into this series, is that in the back of the Canadiens' minds? Is that something they're worried about, concerned about going in there?
Stu, throw all the stats out. Dobie, go watch some 80s Grant Fuhr highlights because that's what's coming at you. And Canadians, you act like the Oilers of the 80s and get on your horses every day. I think the youthful enthusiasm is going to take over in this series. I think that the Canadians have a lot of jump going into this series, a lot of belief in themselves, and I think both these guys said it beforehand. Dobie comes to play and everybody else comes to play. I think we're going to be A-okay. All those stats do this time of the year, they only matter if Vasilevsky stops the puck.
Mm-hmm. Well, missing Noah Dobson is going to be huge on defense. It looks like he has a broken thumb, Brian. I think you have a little bit of experience with that injury, don't you?
Well, I came to Calgary. I had more injuries in 1 month than most people have in a career. So I broke my broke my thumb, and I think it was 5 or 6 spots. And Dave King had me back out there within a week taking faceoffs. But that was the end of my career. Last 10 years of my career, anyway. Screwy, go out, win the faceoff, and get off. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. But it sure is a big loss. There's no doubt about that. We're talking about the leading shot blocker in the NHL all season long, and he's been consistent. So it'll be a big miss back there. I sure hope it isn't for longer than a few games. Let's put it that way.
Rick, as a defenseman, can you imagine shot right off the thumb? Can you imagine trying to? That's an injury. I mean, it'd be almost impossible to play through as a defenseman, especially with the amount of minutes that Dobish logs.
Yeah, well, look at you take that kind of guy out of your lineup. He was playing so well with Matheson. We know that they were logging over 22 minutes a game and key situations, and that definitely does hurt. I'm hoping that his recovery will be a quick one. Those type of injuries, if it is his hand, speaking from experience, it's not always the easiest injury to deal with, like a lot of them at this time of year. But look, we'll give the opportunity to some of the other guys to fill that void. And, hopefully he'll come back because he's a key part, and he has been a key part for most of the year. And it's just unfortunate. And everybody talks about injuries coming into play, trying to stay healthy. It does happen, but it opens the door for other guys to see what they can do.
I think I might have said Dobish instead of Dobson there before. I was
Yeah.
Dobson.
I caught
Knuckles,
that.
sorry.
I caught that.
Yeah. How big of a loss is Dobson, Knuckles? Is this something that they can overcome?
Listen, it's a big loss, no question. What he's done this season, how he stepped in and filled that role, the right side. Listen, I'm of the ilk of next man up. What are you going to do? You can't dwell on it. He's out. I don't see him coming back. If he broke his thumb, come on. Talk about hand injuries right here, folks. So, yeah, you gotta pocket. Can't. Oh my God, we wish we had. No, done. Oh, I wish we were playing Buffalo instead. I wish we were playing. No, you gotta beat who's in front of you. So next man up, and hopefully they're able to fill that void. Maybe not to that extent we would like, but fill that void, and someone's going to have to step up, no question about it. Probably going to be, and again, a young guy like Reinbacher, right D. I think they're going to thrust him into a role here. Not that role, but he's going to play. And the good thing about Reinbacher and seeing him was, he didn't make any glaring mistakes. He wasn't, he played fairly well when he was in there. So again, next man up.
What have you liked about Reinbacher? Rick, he's almost like a younger version of Dobson in some ways, right? Similar type of play and right-hand shot, big guy, not necessarily overly physical, but uses his body well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind his game. It's really hard to judge after a couple of games to get a true reading on the player, but I think he handled himself pretty well. He's conscious of his defensive zone responsibilities, and he seems like a fairly intelligent player with good decisions with the puck under pressure. And he's a big body, can be effective on one-on-ones. Battles doesn't necessarily mean he has to be overly physical, but he can use his size like Dobson to the point where he's able to box out guys and win some one-on-one battles. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with their pairings moving forward, to see who complements who back there. But one advantage they do have is they do have some depth in that position, that some guys can step in there and and help out, especially when that's so critical back there on the blue line. They got to have some guys that know what they're doing, and we always know the importance of the intelligence
Stop.
of defense.
Important to the defenseman, stop.
Well, it's part of the union, Nux.
Yeah, really. I got to hear this every show. Him and the D.
I got to be careful. I'm outnumbered here today, but I know no Screwy. I know Screwy wasn't too far away from me every time it came down to playing in our defensive zone because
You know why? Because he was a centerman. There you go. Stuck on that.
Well, Brian, another defenseman's been injured, Alexandre Carrier. Looks like he might be ready to start the playoffs. I know he's been skating and Brassard working out. If he is ready to start, who comes out? Which defenseman do you think comes out of the lineup?
Stu, that's the question for the coaches. I mean, we can speculate all we want here, and I like what Nuck said, though. It's next man up. So whoever comes out, hopefully this guy's ready to go and fill that void. And it's that time of year where your expectations, hey, you've played to this level. Now you got to raise it. Everybody's got to raise that bar just a little bit. This is, and that's from the very first shift or very first drop of the puck here coming up on the 18th. And hopefully our team will be ready right from the start. We've got, that's the one thing, Greenie hit on it, depth. There's some depth in this organization now, so these guys, hopefully, that next man up, as Chris says, is going to be the secret recipe for this team moving forward.
As a rookie going into the playoffs, so Brian, I know you were a rookie back then. What was it like, the feeling just as a rookie heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I mean, there's that, brought it up earlier, that youthful enthusiasm. I mean, we were just pumped every, and then of course we had the veterans like these two guys that are partaking here today, Larry, Bob. I mean, the idea of what was said in that dressing room beforehand, it just, it was all about team, the big team, little me, Ryan Walter philosophy, and it was every shift. I think that's what we are truly aware of, that this isn't about, hey, that very first shift of the game could lose the game for us. So we got to be ready from the drop of the puck. And that was always mentioned. And so there's always that opportunity for that next man. Hopefully there's a lot of all-stars on this team this playoff.
Knuckles, one guy who's been on the bubble all year in the roster. As we've said many times, you're the president of the Arber Xhekaj fan club. I think he's played really well this last little stretch of games. Playing on his offside, on the right side also, playing regular minutes.
There he is. There he is.
We saw how physical that last game was against Tampa. Do they need Arber Xhekaj in the lineup in this series?
I don't know. We're going to ask Marty. Like, again, we saw how he was used all year. But, boy, we also saw that last game against Tampa. Now, are you going to overreact to that? Are you going to react to that? Well, I think you have to be prepared for that. Especially, you're going to go down their building. They are going to try and lay the law down that first game. No question about it. I think, I want to see him in the lineup. I think he has to be there. And if he's not, I'll be shocked. I guess the issue with it is all of a sudden we think we need him. And all year, they played with this kid in and out, on the bench, 5 minutes here, 4 minutes there. And, I just hope that he gets in there and can show what he can bring to this team. And I think he's going to be in the lineup for sure down in Tampa.
Well, I know in the first couple of games last year against Washington, they didn't play him, Rick, and then they did put him in afterwards. I mean, we saw Corey Perry going after Lane Hutson the last game, and Arber tried to get Perry to fight him. He wouldn't, not surprisingly. I'm sure Tampa's going to target Lane Hutson, and how big of a concern is that for you in this series? And does that mean you have to have Arber in there?
Well, there is a concern, and I think those guys are going to be learning very quickly what kind of series they're up against when they're, throwing the puck in and trying to, pound them away physically. But Arber Xhekaj, vote of confidence the last few games by giving him more ice time and allowing him to kill penalties and allowing him to do what he does best. And I just hope that he stays in it. And I hope that he understands that a disciplined game back there for him means you take a hit when you're given the opportunity, but don't get in a situation where you're running around to try to make a statement and smashing guys through the boards when you don't need to do that, because he's going to get his time to hit guys, play a good, solid, dependable defensive game, take care of the front of the net, take care of the corners, stay on the ice and show what you can do. And this is a perfect opportunity for him to take full advantage of how important he is to the organization.
Brian, I mean, I'm sure Tampa's going to be looking to target Lane Hudson. I mean, if you were sort of that type of a player when you played as a hard forechecking forward, if you were with the Tampa Bay Lightning right now, would that be the game plan, going after Hudson?
Without a doubt, it didn't matter. That number one defenseman, we always said we make them stop all night long. It's a harder game, stop and start. So sometimes during the regular season, you don't finish those checks. I will guarantee you, Stu, there won't be one guy that won't be finishing his check on Lane. But you got to catch him. And that's the key, you know. And if there's a shiftier player out there, please introduce me to him because I haven't met him. This kid is so exciting. I just hope that they can stay healthy. But they're going to have heads up. I totally agree with Nux. And when Nux was holding that Xhekaj bobblehead, I think in the future when it comes to making Xhekaj's bobblehead, they should have the fists shaking, keep the head still, you know. Just an idea. Merchandising, pay attention.
Well, Knuckles, that last game against Tampa, to say you saw Arber try and challenge Perry and he wouldn't go with him. Like when you were in that role, how difficult is that when like you want to rip the guy's head off? And
it wasn't difficult to me. It's difficult for him because things have changed. Back when I was doing it, honestly, I took extra penalties at times, but we always had guys to kill him off, and we had the goaltender, right? And not that, like, you know, I wasn't given free rein, but I was. Like, do what you do best, Knuckles. And there were times I went over the line and I put us at a disadvantage, but we had guys that could kill penalties. Screwy, Cabo, Bo, Spud, like good D-men, Greenie on the back end, you know, Larry, Chelly, like we had Luds, great penalty killers. So I could kind of get away with some of that stuff. It's a little different today that you can't. And I think Arber, you know, in doing his job, I'm sure he's aware of it, but, you know, I think he'd been a little bit neutered, you know, in his career with that. And it makes you have that indecision. And when you're in that role, it's very difficult to go into a game having that indecision. When should I do it? Can I? Will the coach be mad? Am I going to get benched? Am I going back in the stand? So I'm sure he's aware of that. It's just there's a time he may need to step up here and just say, screw it, I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm thinking Engstrom's probably the guy who's going to come out if Carrier is ready, but we'll see going forward. No, the other thing is the physical style that the Lightning play. Is it a team thing, Brian, as far as dealing with that? Not just it's not all on Arber Xhekaj?
You got it. Everybody's got to step up. It's you know what? It makes it a lot easier when it's just one-on-one, whether you're given a beating or taking a beating. It's, you know, these guys as a team, we saw what happened here a couple games ago, and I love that. I thought, man, if that's not preparing them for that first round of the playoffs, I don't know what is. And they didn't hesitate to a man. They were in there like flies on manure. So it was a beautiful thing. I love to see it, and I think that got them all jacked up. They're ready to go here. I think this is going to be a great first round.
Sorry, Stu. I just want to touch on Knuckles. You know how selective he was in picking his spots to stir up trouble, and you know tried to keep it down to a minimum as far as us on the bench going, oh no, here goes Nux taking another stupid penalty. We got to go out and kill it. But that was very seldom did we have to deal with that. And Nux did have a real good understanding when he needed to do what he needed to do to make sure that it was in the best interest of the team. And you know, as much as I don't like to compliment him too often,
I love you.
I got to give him full credit for
I love you.
The type of character that he showed up. That thank goodness I played more with him than I played against him.
Knuckles was just like Santa Claus, better to give than receive.
You bet your ass.
After the last Tampa game, I was talking with Lane Hudson in the room, and he had a cut on his nose, and he had a scratch or scrape on his chin, and I said to him, is that courtesy of the worm? And he said, Yeah. And they said, what was, well, he punched me a couple of times in the face. And I said, well, what was said between you two guys? And he said, well, I'll leave that on the ice, but you can imagine. Knuckles, when you see Corey Perry still doing what he's doing at age 40, it's like, just your thoughts on Corey Perry.
Well, Corey Perry, again, he's a shit disturber. He does his job well. He was trying to spook him. I'll go to the donkey referee. He punched him in the head a couple of times. He never called a penalty on him. So, I know that when I think back on my day, if that's me and Kerry Frazier standing there, I'm going to the penalty box. I'm punching that better player. And, the one thing about Perry that, he kind of fake fights when he gets in a fight. He doesn't really go for a win. He'll act like, and then he'll fall down. He did it. I remember when they come after him in Toronto, Foligno come after him because of the hit with Tavares, remember? Which was a total accident. But still, he bailed in the fight, and that's what he does. He'll play the tough game, and then you got to fight someone, he'll fake fight. He's a fake fighter.
Well, another guy without guys in and out of the lineup and guys who are a pest, Brendan Gallagher. I mean, he got into the last game of the season, and there's speculation. You're wondering if maybe that was his last game with the Canadiens. There's one more year left in his contract. Is he going to get in the lineup in the playoffs? Is he not going to get in the lineups in the playoffs? Should he be in the lineup in the playoffs?
Well, let's just put it this way, Stu. If he's in the lineup, he's going to be ready. Here's a guy with some character. He wants to win a cup. He hasn't even come close yet. So he wants that. Well, I shouldn't say that. The one year they did. He wants that opportunity. And when you're older, getting older and long in the tooth here, you know what? You want that opportunity. You do everything to get into that lineup. So, he's been busting his ass. He's ready. And he would definitely, I think that first game, he could be a difference maker as well. He could be the Corey Perry on our side. So we'll give it, we'll find out. But at some point in time, he is going to get in that lineup.
Rick, would you start him off in the series?
I think he's deserving of getting a start. I mean, look at his performance, his first game back after sitting. Character, does everything he can possibly do to help the team. And when you get to that stage of your career and down deep that there's only so many opportunities left that you would hope to win a Stanley Cup, and he'll do whatever he has to do. Whether he's in or he's out, he's a quality guy that's going to be lead by example both on and off the ice. And, we all know what he's all made of. And he's just a great guy, and you got to have guys like that around.
Knuckles, you got to feel for him. I mean, when this rebuild started 4 years ago, Brendan was like 29. Wasn't thrilled about the idea of a rebuild at that point in his career where you want to win, and you go through the rebuild, and he's been a great leader. He's been a great part of this rebuild on and off the ice. He's helped Nick Suzuki grow into his role as captain and a leader. And now you get to where this team finally is ahead of schedule on this rebuild, going into these playoffs, and then you're not there. Like what must be going through his head right now?
Yeah, I'm probably struggling with it. But again, we saw what he did. They put him in the lineup their last game to see what he did. He was two of the goals, a direct result of his work. The goal, for sure, and then he didn't get an assist on it. But that next goal, he was a big part of that. He started the forecheck. He got it going. I would start him in the playoffs. You're in Tampa. You got to go down there and win one hockey game. And why not take the first one? Come out there, give him that opportunity to show what he can do. And if you feel he doesn't measure up, then, you probably make a move. I would think the way this coach coaches. So I think they've handled him well, Brendan. And it does. It sucks. You saw Carey Price. He didn't want to be part of no rebuild. And Sam Montembeault comes in and kind of filled that gap. Why Price was gone. Brendan stayed here. Listen, I've said it before. I'll say it again. He should never wear another jersey in the National Hockey League.
You're talking about going in and winning one game in Tampa. it looks like the Canadiens weren't too worried about home ice advantage. They sat out Matheson and Anderson and Danault for the last regular season game when they had a chance to maybe clinch home ice advantage. They're starting off in Tampa. Is that an advantage, maybe, Brian, to start on the road, especially with a young team like this?
Well, that's a flip the coin type of question, Stu. The Habs have been very successful at home this season, and that crowd is as energizing as any crowd you've ever seen in the National Hockey League. So, but I don't think it really matters. These two teams, and we've seen it in the past. Playoffs, home ice advantage doesn't seem to matter. It does seem to matter. One year it's all go on the road. Next year it's all go at home. I mean, so it is what you make it. If we can get that first win on the road, well, then we like to start in Tampa.
What do you think, Rick?
Well, I think obviously the success that Canadians had on the road is is excellent. I don't think it's a big issue. What will become an issue is the matchups, as far as who they want to have on the ice at any given time, and of course the home ice gets the last change, so that can play into it. But if the guys are aware of what their role is and what their challenges are against Tampa, they can make that work. I don't have a problem with them starting on the road. I think it's not a bad thing, and we all know after being there a number of times, you got to win one of the games and put the pressure back on them, and come back to needless to say, an energized fan base that's going to open a lot of eyes for those young kids that never saw what it's all about in the playoffs, let alone playoffs in Montreal. So it's an exciting time, and I hope everybody enjoys every part that comes with it.
I know back in '86, Knuckles, I think even at home that they locked you guys up. I think you guys called it Alcatraz,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, when you guys were at home. Don't remember exactly where that was, but what do you remember about that?
We didn't either.
Was that a good idea?
What I remember, I kind of enjoyed it. I like.
Where was it, Knuckles, that you guys went?
Ile Sharon, surrounded by water and alligators.
Yeah. I enjoyed it because I was a good boy. I came and stayed at the hotel when we were supposed to. I guess you could ask a few guys that ended up in a vehicle that hit a telephone pole. And
hey, where are those muddy tracks coming from? Wow.
I don't know. I don't know where they were headed, but they were headed somewhere. But yeah, listen, yeah, the team say, I think for married guys with young kids and stuff like that, it can be a good thing to, even at home, the night before the game, being in a hotel, because you can get your rest, you can focus, and get your mindset where it belongs. And sometimes those distractions at home, especially when you have young kids, it's not that easy. And you're up all night before the game feeding your twins.
Jake Evans, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know Jake Evans' last road trip he was looking forward to. He said, he said, I'm just looking forward to sleeping, getting some sleep. Brian, what do you remember, though, about the days in Alcatraz, and was there a favorite memory, or were they all bad?
Well, I didn't know any better, number one. So we're on the road. We're always together. I said, now this is all about bonding. If I've ever seen bonding, I mean, you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't, it was just 24/7 each other. And so you really got to really like or hate the guy beside you. But 90% of us, we loved one another, and it was just a whole different experience. I mean, we'd come off the road, and boy, oh boy, here we are driving right to another hotel. And especially being in Montreal. So you saw your wives after the game for a couple of minutes, and that was it. And you were so focused. I mean, we were so focused on hockey. There was nothing else in my life back then. It was 22 years of age. We were out in Alcatraz. I never saw anything. She was a tunnel of bring me that cup, Stu, to be honest with you. And hey, it worked out. At the end of the day, there we were raising that cup. So I wasn't against it one little bit. But I agree with Chris and in regards to the family stuff. And I think the wives, they get a chance to live their lives as well when they've got to worry about keeping everybody quiet because we need a 2 hour nap in the afternoon. I don't, that's not really fair either. So I love the idea of these guys having that option of going into the hotel. I'm sure that's what they'll end up doing. It wasn't an option back in '86, but we didn't know any better and we didn't care. So, and it worked out.
Well, Rick, you coached, you're assistant coach for this team also, and if you were in that role today, would you be suggesting to Marty maybe we have these guys stay in a hotel or somewhere when they're at home?
I would give them the option for those guys that wanted to, use the hotel as a way to rest. I mean, they went through the whole regular season without dealing with that, so they're quite aware, and the families are quite aware on what they need to, to do to allow the dad, if you will, to be ready to play. So it's an option. I remember, 2 months in the hotel in Alcatraz was like going, now I can understand. And I wasn't one of them that was in the taxi that ended up venturing off the island there, but it was long, and I was rooming with Larry, and I don't know, we must have gone through about 20 boating books because we did have lots of time, but it was always go have our practice, go to the restaurant, and load up on the best meal you could have back then, and then back in the bus, and off we went to the hotel, and lockdown happened. But as much as it was painful and long, hindsight was it kept us focused, kept us together, and obviously the results speak for themselves.
Yeah,
I don't
Greenie,
know.
I don't know why you wouldn't have liked it. I mean, you were alone all the time anyway at home. You had no kids, you had no wife. Well, you had a few girlfriends, but like, but hello, couldn't you just put them aside for a couple months and not,
No,
come on.
no, no.
Knuckles, I know Marty, one of his biggest skills as a coach is his ability to communicate. And the players have talked about some of the speeches he's given and how motivated they are. In that '86 Cup run, do you remember a speech by a coach or a
Yeah,
player
yeah.
or somebody that
Okay,
fired you guys up?
okay, 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 okay. You go,
I knew that was coming.
you go, yeah, okay, okay.
This is Jean Perron,
Oh,
eh?
well, a
And
speech.
that wasn't just the pregame speech. That wasn't
Oh,
just the pregame.
no, I don't remember much what he said. I think for me, I remember the start of the playoffs. Serge and Mr. Corey came in and spoke to the team in the locker room. You remember this, Brian? Rick?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
bet.
And for me, that year, that because we struggled down the stretch, with old Puddinhead, and we ended up listening to Serge and Mr. Corey. And when they come in and said what they had to say, Mr. Corey really had an impassioned speech, for being the president of the team and stuff. And then Serge spoke really well. And I think for me, that's what I remember most from somebody giving an impassioned speech as far as a coach or management. And that I'll never forget. And it really it moved me in a lot of ways, and I think it must have had an effect on a lot of other guys because certainly we go on to win the Stanley Cup that year.
Brian, I believe Knuckles had a little speech for you rookies in the playoffs there too.
No,
Incredible. And it went right on from day one of the regular season. Then all of a sudden there it was just a little reminder come playoff time, Stu, and it meant the world. But what he brought up was all about Larry, Bob. I mean, these guys got 4 and 5 Stanley Cups each right now. They want 5 and 6. I mean, come on, we've got to put this thing together. It might be their last opportunity. Yet at the same time, I'll never forget, this could be your last opportunity, and it's your rookie year. Don't forget that. So every chance you get to get this far, I mean, it was incredible. We were always in cloud nine. We had 9 rookies that were ready to go through the wall, and we were fighting. We could fought tigers back then, for God's sakes, Stu. We were so hungry. It was really something. And it was that idea of, and I'm bringing it up again, that youthful enthusiasm. But those guys have to bring that energy. I mean, this is a long 2 months. And you've got to have those guys that can provide that energy and provide that idea of, come on, let's go and kick somebody in the ass constantly and be that person ready to carry the flag and lead the way. I think you need 20 guys to do that in order to have success this time of year.
Rick, I know when you were an assistant coach, I mean, it's a head coach usually making the speeches or motivational speeches, but if you were in the locker room now with this group going into the playoffs, what would you be saying to them? What would your message be to them?
Just take advantage of this opportunity and don't leave anything that I wish I did this or I wish I did that. And you touched on speeches or things that went on back in our day, and I never really listened to the coach too much, so I don't recall anything that told me of any big importance. But what I will tell you is we had a group of guys, when you looked in the dressing room and you talk about leading through example, we had a lot of guys that we knew exactly what we're going to get from them. So that was the motivation in itself, seeing these type of character and knowing very well that each and every shift, these guys were going to do what they had to do to make the difference. And this is something that's hard to describe unless you've lived it. But that was the biggest impression that I got from my experience with that group. And obviously the success that we had is a testament of the type of guys that we did have. And thank goodness we did have that kind of group, because those they don't come around that often, those type of guys.
And thinking back on it, we do have to thank number 33 a little bit too.
Oh, just a little bit.
I mean, so no pressure, Dobie.
Hey, number 32 too. Come on, 5 game winners,
yeah.
another rookie, right? So
Claude,
1 and 2 in the Conn Smythe. So I always say that Claude had just as big a impact as Patrick did, because don't forget, we had an awesome team defensively, right? We had an awesome team defensively. There weren't a lot of second shots, and sure, there were nights that there were those second shots, rebound shots that Patrick had to be big. But boy, our defense, they were awesome around Patrick. They cleared pucks out of there and cleared players out of there. We had really good defense. So again, not to take away from Patrick at all, but yeah, I got to give it to Pepe Lemieux. And there was a time I never wanted to give it to Pepe Lemieux because it was such a pain in the ass. But when you call a spade, he was right there. 1 and 2 in the Conn Smythe. They were unbelievable. And, of course, Screwy. Screwy is number 3 in the Conn Smythe.
I used to love Screwy, even though Claude's head, seemed to be fairly large. And Screwy used to come up with this song, "Put Your Hand on My Boulder," and he would, go up and rub his large head. And oh my God, just to show you the kind of guys that we had in the.
Do you guys remember us singing on that bus after we beat New York in overtime?
Oh,
we were heading back over. I've never been on a bus louder in my life, but I think we got outshot 20-1 or something in that overtime. Patrick was unbelievable. But we got on that bus, Pepe started singing, and we just all joined in. It was what a hoot. Oh, there's been a lot of good memories, Stu, with you sending a list of these questions and stuff. It really got the brain going. Yeah, it was great.
Well, Knuckles, I know that rookie speech had an impact. Brian spoke about it. And I wrote a column a couple of years ago. I spoke with Mike Lawler, and he still remembers that speech vividly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rookies on this team. Well, quite a few rookies on this team, and young guys. Knuckles, if you were in that locker room and you could pull those guys aside like you did with Brian and Lawler and those other guys, what would you be saying to the young guys in this team going into this playoff?
Well, hang on a sec. You got a chance to drive down and do that speech live. Have they not called you yet?
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
What's going on there?
No, I don't want anybody to poop their pants before the series starts. No, listen, I just remember talking to them guys, the importance of, the season we were embarking on, Bob and Larry winning all those cups. And I think, and I saw it up until that point, we always looked for Larry and Bob to do it. Because I was part of that coming up. I'm like, everybody, Larry will be there. Oh, Bob will turn it around. Like, no. Like, it's great to have those guys there But to have to rely on them and have that pressure all the time that they're the ones who have to step up. I said, as young players, we got to start to come in and we have an opportunity here to really help these guys step up and be at the forefront. We can't always rely on them. And with these guys, man, listen, you got a little taste of it last year in Washington. Boom, you were out in the first round. See you later. You want to go out in the first round again? If not, you got to step it up. I talked to a guy like Kirby Dach, 6'4", 221 pounds. He got nice hands and everything, and I know he's had injury problems, but they need physicality out of him. They need that because he's one of the bigger players. I don't want him playing like, Alex Newhook or Lane Hudson. I want him playing like a big forward who can finish his body check, stuff like that, like Anderson, playing physical. We need that. It can't be one or two guys. So everybody's got to step up. Everybody's got to be there for one another. And let's put our best foot forward here. You got to have some confidence going in, and you got to have that will to win. And if you're not willing to do some things that maybe aren't so fun, you're not going to have the success that you would like to have.
Rick, what's the key for the Canadiens to win this series? Is it being physical?
No, playing with the puck, having the puck more often than Tampa. This is their strength. Hoping that Tampa will play into turning the puck over at the wrong times that they allow the Canadiens to go on the offense. And I think it's really important in the playoffs that the guys understand the scrums after the whistle stuff, the face washing, all that stuff. Try to avoid that. You come together as a group, as a pack, you stick together, but you don't get into a situation where you're distracted through this kind of stuff that goes on after the whistle. And I don't give a lot of merit to that type of stuff. Be together, be tight, but concentrate on what your job is. And I think the Canadiens have an excellent opportunity to take advantage of Tampa through their speed and their overall game coming at Tampa. That's going to cause some problems. And, let's let them hopefully play with the puck more often than not. And that's going to give Tampa a tough time.
What do you think, Brian?
Exactly those words. They've got to play their game, and that isn't the scrums after whistles. That isn't, even though, you know what, you're in and you're out. You don't want to get involved in that stuff. And I think if the Habs can move that puck, move their feet, get in on Tampa's defense, we know it's going to take a lot of shots and a lot of traffic in front of Vasilevsky. That takes a lot of energy and work to get those people there, but you got to get that puck there. I think he's shown signs of weakness in the past as well, where we should be able to, maybe we can take advantage of it. And I think if they can get to him in game one, they start throwing some question marks at their own goaltending. So that'll be really important. This last game at 2-1 was as tight as it was. You said it was a playoff preview, but we've got some good goal scorers. I think if we can get at him early in game one, that'll probably get into the back of his head as well.
Tampa Bay has lost in the first round each of the last 3 years, so they're going to have that in the back of their mind also.
Right.
Going back to 86, I mean, obviously the favorite memory is hoisting that Stanley Cup. Apart from that, what was your best memory from that playoff run?
Game 7, Hartford Whalers, Claude Lemieux scoring in overtime. Because I'll never forget sitting on the bench when Babbage scored from the point and they tied it, and the whole bench went, ooh. And I remember going in the locker room, Bob Gainey, getting guys refocused, got to go out and play, because it's easy to dwell on that. It's easy to dwell on that shit. We had him beat, and they scored with a minute left. And then we come out and Pep Lemieux does what he did. For me, that was the biggest, because, other than Screwy's overtime goal, but that came later, but we would have never been to Screwy's overtime goal if it wasn't for Pepe.
Or we
heart-
wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have made it to La Troika that night either.
that Lemieux against Hartford. I was at that game
And Jim would have
like,
saved some money.
I was at that game against Hartford, sitting like the third to last row up in the Blues, where you couldn't even see the scoreboard. And I remember, like the building just erupted. I mean, Brian,
That was nuts.
obviously your favorite memory is going to be that overtime goal.
Oh my God, yeah,
that.
without a doubt. But you know, Stu, it's funny. I'll never forget that idea. Okay, first of all, as all the veterans said, boys, we got an opportunity to close this off here. Game 3 in Boston, and it was a best of 5, and we were up 2. Bob Gainey goes out early in the third period, scores a shorty. Well, now we're up, and we're feeling really good about ourselves. That to me was one of those turning points that I'll never ever forget. And then a quick little story, but after we won that game and we're in the dressing room and Mr. Blake comes in and walks around the dressing room, congratulations. And, you know, he's congratulating everybody, comes to me and he says, you haven't won anything yet. Goes to the next guy, congratulations, you know. So that happened every round, second round, third round. We finally won that cup, Stu. Mr. Blake comes in, congratulations, comes to me. He says, that's only one. Well, I was 1 for 1 at this point in time. That's not bad, right? But to me, that epitomized what it took to be a Montreal Canadian. We don't come in here every year, or we come every year to win this thing. That's our goal, and I got that message loud and clear year 1. There's no doubt about that.
For younger fans out there, Mr. Blake is obviously Toe Blake, the former
yes.
Hall of Famer, coach, player, everything else. Now you still hold the record, though, I think, Brian, right, for the fastest OT goal in the playoffs.
As a matter of fact, I do, Stu. It's amazing how 9 seconds will change a man's life, but that's 40 years, and yeah, it's been fun to talk about, no doubt about that, especially with us winning that series.
And let me just say that seeing that play out was obviously huge because the momentum was shifting a little bit. I think we were a little bit uneasy on the way things were going, and it was like it's such a fine line when you get down to those situations. A bounce and a break can make the difference between the cup or no cup. And when that one went in, was like, whew, we survived this one, and let's get on to the next one.
That was in the cup final. What game was that again? That was
Game 2.
Game 2. That's right. So
Yeah.
Rick, for you, your
We
favorite
didn't lose another one, Stu. We won the next 3 and it was over in 5. Yeah.
the turning point. So for Rick personally, what was your favorite memory then from that, apart from hoisting the cup?
The goal that I scored, I don't know. I scored so many. I'm just trying to remember exactly how it played out. But
A little sidestep.
oh yeah,
that was a beauty. It's still in my mind.
that's right. I closed my eyes and shot, and it went in. But no, that was that
Didn't
was.
you fall down after you scored and it took you about 5 minutes to get up?
I was trying to draw a lot of attention because the guys were like going, "Did you really do what I thought you did?" And I was, yeah. But anyway,
It was unbelievable. It really was, because we were all shocked that he made that little move. Too bad we didn't have like a split screen of Hudson on the blue line and Greenie on the blue line with the puck. It would be beautiful.
How you can shift 250 that fast, I'll never know. But
and talk about brain cramps. It was only Mullen that was coming out to me, the best goal scorer in American history, and I'm the last man back in a 1-goal game to do something as foolish as that. So, anyways, we all have stories, and that one ended up with a happy ending. Thank goodness.
beautiful.
Well, before we wrap this up, guys, this has been so much fun. Predictions for the series. Knuckles, what do you think?
Oh, I hate these things. I hate making predictions. I want to see the Habs win. I think they could do it in 6. The Habs.
All right.
Yeah,
Rick?
I'm sticking. I'm going right with that. 4-2. You betcha.
I think it's going to take 7 games, and the Habs are going to find a way to get it done, and I'm hoping they do.
You guys are going to make me look bad here and get Canadiens fans mad at me. I wrote a column this week saying Tampa in 6. I just think their goaltending and the experience is going to help them. And now I better duck because all the Habs fans are going to be upset. But I also wrote wouldn't shock me if they did, that the Canadiens did win this series.
Well,
just
you
'cause
can't cover your ass, Stu. You have
No,
to,
I'm
one or
saying,
the other.
I'm saying
One or
Tampa
the
in
other.
6.
No covering your ass.
pick
Yeah.
My pick is Tampa in 6. However, this Canadiens team has all season has shown a fighting spirit that reminds me of you guys back in 1986 when you guys won the cup with that fighting spirit. So hopefully the Canadiens do win and they prove me wrong and you guys right. Nothing beats the playoffs in Montreal. It's good for the city. It's good for the team. It's good for the fans. It's good for us. It's good for everybody. So hopefully they can pull it off and maybe go on a long run like you guys did in 1986. Thanks so much, guys, for doing this. It's been so much fun. Looking forward with this Canadiens team, looking back to what you guys did in 1986. Congratulations on your 86 Cup yet again. Something you guys will never forget. And fans old enough like me to remember it will never forget it also. Anyway, that's it for our Hockey Inside Out show, or preview show. I just want to remind you the Hockey Inside Out show is now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can watch us there. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. And hopefully the Habs do win this series.